everyone's here, and now we learn those two pincers, yes.
Welcome miniature fans, today I have a very simple paint to show you. This is the Clay Golem by Wizkids Games. Now the paints I'm going to be using today are just two. I'm going to be using some flat brown and some brown sand. I have one ink wash, which is a brown ink wash, and for the base I'm going to use some crackle paint by Green Stuff World, and that's all we're going to need for today's paint. Okay then, so the first thing we do is I have stuck the miniature to the base there, and we are going to cover the miniature with flat brown, the whole miniature including the base. Okay, so that we've got two coats of our flat brown on this miniature and it looks lovely. What we're going to do now is I've got a nice soft dry brush by Army Painter, and we're going to use our brown sand colour. Now this is a super easy thing. We just go in onto the tissue with our paint, taking the paint off the brush, and we're going to go over all that miniature, and it will absolutely make everything pop and work super well. So we go over the whole miniature nice and evenly, just so you can see that colour behind. That flat brown will work as a shade. We're going all the way onto the base as well, making sure we go over every part of this miniature, because the final step on this miniature is just to add that brown ink wash. So it's very simple. I'm going to keep applying the dry brushing until the whole mini is completely covered and you're left with the Clay Golem. And we're doing the same to that base as well. It's just a flat base, but because we're putting that crackle paint over the base, I want something below the crackle paint for the crackle paint to adhere to. And also you want a darker colour below that base. So this is about as good as it's going to go for that. Once I've added that crackle paint, it will show through once the crackle paint has dried, but we'll come to that later. So I shall finish this off, and then we'll come back once that's dry and we'll add that brown ink wash. Simple as this then. Okay, it's time to add that ink wash. I've got a couple of cotton buds. I use them for any pooling from the brown ink wash. So what we're going to do is go over the whole miniature with that brown ink wash. Including the base. Nice and simple. And if there's any pooling from that ink wash, we use our little cotton buds to mop up those pools. But this is all we need to do for this miniature, and it's a fantastic easy miniature to paint. I'm doing the base as well. So we go all around the base, and there we are. Once that's dried, that'll be our clay column. What I'll do then is I'll show you how we use that crackle paint. Okay, so the ink wash is all dried and we've got our Green Stuff crackle paint. What we do with this crackle paint is give it a very good shake first. It's a very runny crackle paint. I've used some in the past before, which is a lot thicker, and this one is very runny. So what we do, give it a very good shake, and then we just add it to the base directly from the bottle. You can paint it on, or you can add it directly through the bottle, so it says on the bottle here. Now, very simple to use. I'll just clean the nozzle a little bit. All we do is we squirt the crackle paint onto the miniature. Now I'm just going into little sections, one there, and just there. Just take it across the back and a little drop just here as well. And then all I'm doing is I'm going to use an old brush and I'm going to push the paint around the base. So it goes up to the edges as well. And once this dries, it will go all crackly, and that undercoat that we've done with the brown, that will come through and show at the bottom, which will give a nice effect. So all we're doing is pushing that paint to the edge of the base, going all the way around. Now it says on the bottle it can take an hour to 2 hours to dry. So it gives you plenty of time to get the paint exactly where you need it. Just make sure you've got an even coat going over the whole base, and then the crackle effect will work very well. And that's all you need to do, and now we'll just leave it and come back and see what happens. The crackle paint has dried now and looks fantastic. It does exactly what it says on the box. You've got crackle paint. It looks like mud or a desert. So what I'm going to do now for the last thing is I am going to add a brown ink wash over the whole of that area, because that will highlight all that crackle paint. Just let the ink wash go in between the cracks in the paint, and we'll do this around the whole of the base. Perfect. I'll let that dry and I'll come back and show you the finished miniature. So here is the finished clay golem, and it just proves you do not need to paint tons and tons of detail on a miniature. Sometimes you can get away with the most basic colours and the most simplest paint, and it gives the effect that you're going for. I've only used 2 colours today, and it's come out the way I wanted. It's a clay golem. You don't need anything more than this, and it's perfect for your tabletop games. So there we are. This is this week's Wizkids Games Mini, the clay golem. If you enjoy what I'm doing, then please hit that sub button. If you want to support the channel, then please become my patron. All patrons are added to the end credits of all my videos, and please check out my links below the video. So until next time.
Goodbye, my fellow ones. Sleep well. Dream of evil paintbrushes.